who are these serum? Who are we? In a nutshell, the serum are extremely powerful beings summoned when a plague breaks out. Their purpose is to combat the plague, specifically the pestilence. The pestilence is a plague that turns humans into abominations. While there's likely more to it than that, this is all the information we have for now. Public opinion on this serum in the Wicked universe is mixed. Some view them as saviors and feel relief at their presence. Others believe the serum are responsible for the plague's existence in the first place. Our own origin and identity as a serum remains shrouded in mystery, but through indirect storytelling, one thing becomes clear: serums are really unnatural beings, and the controversy around them might actually be justified. One figure provides really valuable insight directly and indirectly, and that is the seneschal, a god worm being trapped in the limnus. He believes he's fulfilling his purpose. Now, the limnus is really complicated to explain, but to put it simply, the serums basically have this trial ground, or more like training ground, where they can kind of enter like this dream state when they sacrifice their blood, and it's another dimension, and the limnus is basically the safe zone in that dimension. Either way, the seneschal deserves his own video separately because there is just so much to him, but for now, what matters is this: he refers to us as a quiet one, and the fact that he keeps mentioning the quiet ones suggests there's something unique about mute serums like ours. He even wonders if he was once a quiet one, which is really interesting given how talkative he is now. Eventually, he asks a very important question. Now, keep that in mind. There's like a really minor spoiler ahead, so you can skip if you'd like. But when you reach the final level of this trial ground that I mentioned, you meet Cerim of the Echo Knights. He is described as...
Look, we remember the chosen few, Cerim and his fiercest unspoken, who fought these trials through wrath and silence.
The inscription can be found right before you enter the trial grounds. The game naturally guides you to it, and the inscription mentions the unspoken, which has to be a reference to us, or more accurately, to the quiet ones. And during this battle, Cerim says all serums are a lie. After losing to him, which you will, because he's flippin' powerful, and returning to the seneschal, he remarks, and for me, this exchange confirms that quiet ones are not the only serums. Serums are plague breakers, and Cerim was supposedly our champion, a serum champion. But he was clearly not mute. He was really talkative, actually. And to add more information to this, unrelated to the training ground, Cerim the seneschal, when you roam around the world, you'll encounter this knight-like enemy in heavy armor. I believe they're actually directly connected to the serum because they say things like, all serums are born dead. And these knights also use plague spells or something like that, because the particles of whatever spells they use is identical in appearance to the plague enchantment effects that we can obtain, which for me suggests a direct link between them and the pestilence. It makes sense. It gets even more interesting because we have this one NPC, Elsa, who again deserves a whole nother video because there is just so much lore. This NPC, Elsa, is basically a historian who is obsessed, scarily obsessed with serum history. At one point, she expresses frustration that the sayer won't speak to her despite her devotion, and in her rambling, she mentions that the serum learned to sculpt the world, and also says, this is how you were forced, directly speaking to us, which is another interesting piece of information, right? Like, we were forced. The knights are saying we're born dead. There's a connection there. And one more thing, there is the Watcher, who is this old wise man who has summoned us to Sacrament. And there's not much known about him, to be honest, except for the fact that he is really wise, but his mind is fading. And our return kind of helps him regain his mind. Either way, he can grant us powers, specifically by having us drink pestilence monster blood, basically. They call it monster ichor, but it's basically pestilence monster blood. Right now, the powers he grants us is mostly inventory based, but obviously in terms of lore, we're getting a power up, which raises a crucial question. Why can we gain power from the pestilence itself? And that is a whole load of information. Let's tie everything together now. I partially agree with the skeptics in the Wicked universe, and everything I'm about to say from here on is purely theoretical, so keep that in mind. So if you actually play through the game, it is really heavily implied that the serums are actually going extinct, and I believe it is due to an internal war. Our conversation with the seneschal implies there is something unique about the Quiet Ones. Elsa's commentary on how we were forced, Sivian's declaration that serums are lies, and the hostile knights claiming all serums are born dead. It all ties together. All of it suggests that the Quiet Ones were created through the pestilence to fight the pestilence. Kind of like how our bodies require traces of bacteria to build immunity. I believe the serum discovered a way to make the plague kind of harm itself. And the Quiet Ones were the product of that discovery. And it makes sense because we drink pestilence ichor and grow stronger, right? But I believe the process was extremely unstable. The success rate was likely really low, which meant requiring countless dead bodies. Not only is that morally questionable, it's really dangerous because failed Quiet Ones, the failed experiments, likely turn into really powerful abominations, which means more serum deaths because you have to fight the monsters off. Not only that, but some monsters may escape. Just the attempt itself of trying to use the pestilence may spread the pestilence further just to fuel more Quiet Ones experiments. And that's when I believe the serum just broke apart, split into factions. Pro-Quiet Ones and anti-Quiet Ones. The Quiet One project may have been noble, even revolutionary, but the consequences were just too severe. It almost cancels out their purpose because at this point the collateral damage kind of outweighs the gains. Yet, in my opinion, you could argue that it is a long-term investment because if it works, then you need less members of the serums to take care of more problems. But that's another story, whatever. When you arrive at the city of Sacrament, the governor Ellsworth and his right-hand man Winnick comment on how long it took us to arrive, and I believe that delay was due to this very serum war that was happening. It's safe to assume that the Quiet Ones are the ones who came out victorious. The seneschal likely supported the Quiet Ones because he doesn't seem to resent the idea that he may have once been a Quiet One. The losing faction though, the anti-Quiet Ones, are still alive, and I think they're actually going around spreading propaganda against the serum, which is why there is such a mixed view of the serum in the general public. But in their obsession of destroying the serum's image, I think they've actually lost their original true purpose, because now they're going around spreading the plague, as we mentioned earlier, with the night-like mobs throwing the plague around. It is really likely that one of the main reasons that the pestilence returned is due to these guys trying to spread propaganda, but they're just taking it a bit too far. So, answer the simple questions. Who are we in the Wicked universe? We are a product of the pestilence, forced to destroy it, but our creation cost lives. Not just serum, the civilians lost to plague outbreaks fueled by the Quiet One experiments. In their eyes, it does not matter whether it's propaganda, it doesn't matter whether it was from pro-Quiet Ones, anti-Quiet, it doesn't matter. The fact is that they lost their families to the pestilence. We may have caused the pestilence return, but either way, our existence cost many lives. We may have even caused the pestilence's return indirectly, or maybe even directly, who knows. And now the Sayer is probably watching us, waiting to see whether his creations was worth the annihilation of his own kind.